So there was some massive news dropped in regards to Tesla, and unfortunately, once again, it's not good. So let's break it down piece by piece and get you the truth, because like most things with investing, there is some truth and there is some trash. So we need to get to the bottom of all of it because it is absolutely affecting your Tesla stock, and I'll tell you exactly how it's gonna affect your Tesla stock as well. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype. All right, guys, so I have a big announcement coming next week. For those of you guys that are wanting a more budget-friendly option to get it in my group, I got something coming for you here, so stay tuned for that because it's going to be epic. All right, so it's actually been an interesting past week or so here in Tesla land. I mean, you had Reuters saying basically the Model 2 was dead. Then you had Elon saying that was completely false. And then shortly after that, announcing a Robo taxi event that's coming up here shortly, which I have very strong feelings on that. It's too strong and it's too long to do here in this video. We'll get to it here shortly here. It'll be a separate video for you guys. But today we had Citigroup that downgraded Tesla, and it's not good at all when you read through the press release. In a note to clients this week, the investment bank cut its target for Tesla stock to 180 from 196 per share, telling investors that they are awaiting a more convincing entry point. We're updating our Tesla model to reflect the Q1 delivery miss and early April data, wrote Citi. All right, so obviously that's still above where we're at today, so they're still mostly bullish on the stock there, but they continue to kind of walk back their price target further and further and further. And I can't disagree, the delivery miss was more than expected. I think it was definitely more than most of us expected, even some of the more conservative Tesla folks. It still missed those estimates as well. And of course, I don't know what data they're talking about specifically in terms of Q1, unless it was the China data that came out to where registrations really dropped, which of course you could figure out what that was. I'm not going to get into that here, but nonetheless, that right there shows you that, hey, they're starting to adjust for a not so good quarter this particular earnings call, which again, we've talked about before. We know that that's coming. We understand that that's coming. The question is going to be, how is Wall Street going to take it and how is Wall Street going to react to it? And you're kind of seeing right here, Citi kind of getting ahead of the game per se, and kind of giving us a little bit of a preview of what they think is going to happen. So that right there is kind of the first piece, but wait, there's actually more in this release. Brokerage firm also provided its thoughts on the potential robo-taxi unveil, stating that they can see two scenarios. Of course, it's got to be two, right? Got to be the bull and the bear, right? First is an event that feels similar to the 2019 Autonomy Day, in which Tesla reveals a purpose-built robo-taxi, but without a convincing deployment path, leaving open questions about how Tesla will compete with the likes of Waymo, Cruise, Motional, and dense urban domains. If such a scenario were to follow a formal push out of the Model 2 next-gen EV, then Citi believes this will likely prove disappointing to investors. All right, so kind of a lot to unpack there, and let's kind of go point by point, because I agree. In the past, and I've said this before on this channel, I've said it, when it went down, I didn't care who got upset or unsubscribed from my channel, whatever the case was, that I thought events like Autonomy Day were a bust, because they're just, and it has nothing to do with the stock. And what I mean by bust is from a stock perspective. From a stock perspective, they were complete bust because it doesn't tell me anything in regards to a timeline. Just like they said, a path to profitability. When is this coming? When can I count on those profits coming in? How much are you going to sell it for? What are the margins going to be? Even if they're guesses or general estimates or whatever the case is, when you don't have that sort of stuff and it's just an event that gets everybody all excited, and obviously, you know, with 2019 for Autonomy Day, I mean, here we are. Great, it's 5 years later and there's nothing really tangible adding to that bottom line yet for that. And that right there is exactly what they're talking about from an investor perspective. If it's another event like that where Elon gives the timeline of next year that everybody rolls their eyes at and goes, yeah, right, it's going to be a disappointment to investors and another place to where, again, it hurts the stock because it's going to get retail all excited. All the Tesla bulls out there, people are going to put out videos. Oh my gosh, it's going to be Tesla to, $5,000 per share tomorrow. And then immediately it's going to go like this and then dump once again because the large investors are looking for profits now, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, but they're looking for something tangible to start to model out so that way they can do their pretty little models and their little charts and all that sort of stuff like that. And even us as investors, even if you're not into modeling and stuff like that, I still want to see something tangible. I want a tangible timeline. I want something more than just, hey, it's coming, just wait and see, it's next year, maybe. That right there for us as investors is not helpful. And it's why I didn't add anything to my price for Tesla back when Autonomy Day hit or any of the other events that have happened since then, because we've been given nothing in regards to timelines or any sort of detail. You're left strictly to guess about all of it, which is not a good way to invest. So for me, all this stuff is all out of what I believe Tesla will do until I have something tangible coming in. So I understand the fear there completely from Citi, and I do believe they're speaking for the vast majority of investors out there. If it comes out and it's just a very broad, I'm sure it'll be a great presentation, of course. But if it comes out and it's very, kind of general and there's really no details there, it's not going to do much for the stock price. As a matter of fact, it might very well do the opposite because people lose faith that Tesla is on the path to get there because they can't tell you what path that they're on. And they've proven in the past that, hey, regardless of what they say, they haven't been able to execute in those timelines for the most part, not all the time, but within those timelines. So that right there creates negative sentiment among investors, unfortunately. Again, you guys don't blast me down in the comments. I'm literally just trying to give you guys the truth about this stuff and not just be a blind Tesla bull pumping this thing up to the moon. Yes, I know that they said compete with the Malibu and Wamu and all those other people like that. I understand that. I think Tesla is going to do better than that. But if you don't have something that's on the road doing it right now like those vehicles are, it is seen as them just trying to compete. But the next point here actually kind of tells us the good side of this right here. And of course, it aligns more with what we're thinking as investors. The second scenario is an event introducing a robo-taxi along with a more convincing deployment path. This convincing can come from deep diving FSD AI performance gains, but also from approaching deployments somewhat differently, Citi explained. They believe that if the August 8th event delivers a credible and perhaps differentiated deployment strategy, that could emerge as a positive for the stock. So what they're basically saying right there is, hey, Tesla can come out with this event, give us something tangible, and it would get investors really excited if they had kind of a deployment plan that is vastly different from what is already out there. Basically going from, hey, we're not just going to compete with our competitors. This is how we're going to beat our competitors. And you kind of see the difference right there. That right there is what they're speaking about. And that would get investors excited. Now, again, if it comes with no timelines and a bunch of vague whatever, I don't think it's going to do a whole lot for the stock. And again, it's just going to be one of those events that for me, I'll pay attention to it because it'll be interesting and I just want to know. But beyond that, it's not going to get me excited in regards to the stock if we don't get anything tangible there. But I would agree there. Tesla always seems to do something completely different. So it's completely plausible and it fits right in with Tesla's DNA to, hey, we're going to create this and then we're going to create a deployment strategy that is completely different than our competitors. Obviously, if they follow that same pattern once again, it's going to be very, very positive for the stock. And it's going to show that they basically I know that they look behind right now in regards to something tangible on the road. That's what I'm talking about here. Slow down. Don't go blasting me. But in regards to it going to that other side there, that right there is how they make that leap ahead of the competition, which we know that's probably exactly what they're going to do if we get all the other things to fall in place. So what does this mean for the stock? I know that right there is exactly what you guys are wanting to know. So, and it actually signals something very, very different to me than what we've seen in the past with Tesla when these sort of downgrades have come out. So that's good news for us right here. So let's get into that next. Now, obviously, Citi actually went on to actually talk more about how they've not only downgraded the short-term outlook, but also the long-term outlook as well. But that'll change with the wind as soon as Tesla gets things turned around there. So I'm not really worried about that at all. But if you notice, the entire market is down and Tesla's basically just kind of down right along with everybody else. So the downgrade didn't hit it as hard as I thought it would be when I first read exactly what all was in it, especially from Citi, who is, basically one of the big banks there. They carry a little bit more weight than some guy at some, small hedge fund out in the middle of nowhere nobody cares about and such. But it absolutely shows that the market is starting to price in all the bad news. We saw the same exact thing after the delivery number came out. Sure, it went down a little bit, but we didn't get the crater that we thought that freaked everybody out. It just didn't happen. We saw a dip and then it kind of shored itself up a little bit. It kind of maintained. What that means is Wall Street is starting to price in a lot of the bad news already. A lot of these things are known. This is kind of how you can kind of tell that's what's going on. So to me, Citi downgrades, cites, potential weak earnings in a sense. That's exactly what they were saying. And you still didn't get a huge move down in the stock, especially on a red day where maybe it may have been down 5, 6, 7, 8%. Maybe we get there today. I don't know. Again, it's early. I'm recording this ahead of time. But nonetheless, you're starting to see a lot of these things start to get priced in. And that's good news for us as shareholders. That's how you can get that weird earnings thing that kind of happens there, where basically earnings is bad, but then the stock goes up. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that is how the dominoes are kind of lining up for now. Now, I'll do a complete earnings preview. We'll talk in depth about the earnings here next week sometime. But nonetheless, this is exactly how I take it. So for me, this is a good sign that we may be seeing something happen there with Tesla stock and people are starting to price in all the bad news and kind of looking ahead and then pricing in the bad news as well. And if you want to see when I pull the trigger next on Tesla stock and you want to take 5 courses for free, use our stock analyzer tool for free, be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there, get your free coaching, jump on our live Q&As, jump into my DMs, talk to me anytime you want. Make sure you check out the pinned comment down there for my group and see if our membership's right for you. And yes, there is a big announcement coming next week for those of you that want a more budget-friendly option. I'm going to have that there for you too. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market, and click here to see my exact plan for this market. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.